What's up guys, Shay Stevens here, PDGA number 77522, and today we're taking a look at the newest offering in the Axiom lineup, the Fission Defy. Let's get to it. So you probably heard me say this before, but the Fission Photon was the disc that introduced me to MVP discs, and as I was making the conversion over, there was another mold competing for that main distance driver slot in my bag, and that disc was the Defy. I gravitated towards the Defy because it had the same flight numbers as my old go-to, the Innova Wraith, but after throwing them for a few months, I decided to go with the Fission Photon because I just like that little extra flip and ride it had, and I love the feel of Fission plastic. Unfortunately at the time, the Defy was not offered in Fission, but finally, that is no longer the case. We have the Fission Defy. So flight numbers on the Fission Defy are speed of 11, glide of 5, turn of negative 1.5, and a fade of 3. So an extra negative 0.5 turn when the Defy is run in Fission, which seems to be the standard for MVP when they run their distance drivers in Fission. They usually get a little bit of turn, or a little more turn. In terms of feel, I'm loving this iteration of Fission. I hope it's here to stay, guys. It's just nice, workable, and the grip is good. Like 6 months ago, we were getting Fission that was pretty slick. You had to throw them for throw the disc for 2 weeks or so to kind of wear off that smooth finish. That's no longer the case. Right out of the box, this has great grip, so loving that. One thing I do want to note, though, is the finish on this disc is kind of old MVP. They have a new finishing process now where they really polish the edge of the disc, make it super smooth, can't really feel the nubs, and I've been loving that. This still has a very noticeable parting line, and just like a micro beat, if you will, of flashing on it. Not terrible, but this leads me to believe that I think the Defy may have been sitting in some boxes for a little bit at MVP. My guess is just because of how the schedule worked for releases, they probably had to get out all the player support discs, get the Tour Series out, the signatures, all that good stuff. And now finally, we're getting to see the Defy. So that's my theory on the finish on this disc, but it's not terrible. I mean, Prodigy check. My hand's not bleeding, so it's not terrible. But yeah, before we get to the throws, let's check out some side-by-sides. And starting the comparisons off, on the left we have the 171-gram Fission Defy up against the 157-gram Fission Defy. So the lightweight one has a slightly higher nose, maybe, almost negligible. But we flip them over for a dome check, and domes are lined up perfectly, so you love to see that consistency across the different weights. And moving right along, we have the 171-gram tester on the left up against a Fission Photon on the right. This run of Fission Photon was the first run MVP produced in-house, so it was known to be a little more overstable, so you can see the nose on it is a little higher than the Fission Defy. But the one characteristic to note is the bottom of the disc. See how the slope from the nose down to the bottom on the Fission Photon is pretty gradual. It's very blunt on the Defy by comparison. So that should just note that, that 3 fade of the Fission Defy should be pretty pronounced and true. And for one final comparison, we have the Fission Defy on the left up against a Fission Time-Lapse on the right. Now you'll notice the parting lines on these two are very similar, but you do want to look at the finish of the disc from the nose to the bottom again on the Time-Lapse. Much more gradual, pretty soft curve, versus the Defy gets a lot more blunt towards the end, more severe curve, so it should have a lot more lower speed overstability. That being said, I've heard from some testers who throw much further than me saying that they're getting a similar flight from the Defy to the Fission Time-Lapse, which I can totally understand. If they are overpowering this disc, they're probably getting a little more turn out of it, stretching it more, and I could totally see an overpowered Fission Defy flying like a time-lapse. So if you do have a faster arm speed, and for whatever reason you like the flight of the Fission Time-Lapse, but not necessarily the feel, you want something a little smaller, the Fission Defy might be for you. All right, now to set the scene for these throws, this was the same session I threw the Fission Dimensions in, so you saw that, slight breeze right to left, almost negligible, but it's out there. Next up, conditions are a bit slick. Unfortunately, the forecast had called for rain the entire week, and I saw a break in the weather, so I just, decided to go out, get the best conditions I could find, and throw in them. So, bit wet, but, just working with what I had. And lastly, I was thrown a bit hurt, unfortunately. A bunch of wasps lit up my back leg. So not really able to kick off, explode through like I want to. But still, I put a good enough move on these Defies, I think, to get an idea of how they're going to handle. So starting off on hyzer, just a very true overstable distance driver. Just set it on that line. It's going to hold that hyzer, push forward for you before finding the ground. I was able to flip the lightweight one up just a little bit to extend the hyzer, get a little more lateral carry out of it, but still very true. You don't have to worry about losing this thing over, flipping it. So just a great disc for hyzering to control your distance and, for accuracy. Defy's a great go-to. On flat, as long as you hit it flat, nice and smooth, good pop on it, you're definitely going to access that 1.5 turn, get some ride out of it. But no, that 3 fade, 3 is a very strong fade number for a driver, and it shows in the Fission Defy. When this thing slows down, it definitely hyzers hard and finishes pretty sharp. So not a bad characteristic, just one to be aware of. Anhyzer, guys, I freaking love this disc for Anhyzer. I was having so much fun putting it on different angles. It's either, doing like a subtle Anhyzer, getting a flex shot of it, but I really liked cranking this thing on a hard angle, hitting it fast, getting a good spin on it, and just watching it have this big, slow, panning Anhyzer with a little bit of finish at the end. It was a really beautiful flight I enjoyed watching. Same deal on forehand. This thing can handle torque, so I was just loving cranking over on this thing, getting a good pop on it, and watching it just flex out before finishing off to the right. I think forehand players are really going to love the Defy. If you've been forehanding Fission Photons or Photons and other blends, I could see the Defy challenging for that bag slot, guys. Now, the question is, will it make my bag? I'd say conditionally. These kind of remind me of, I think it was the first run of Fission Photons, or like the first Lane King runs, when MVP had brought production in-house. Those came out super beefy, if you remember. And I've been leaning on them heavily for windy days, but I'm running out of that stock right now. But these Defys fly very similar to that. So on a day where there's like 20-mile-an-hour winds at like Mercer or Thompson, I could definitely, see myself tossing the Defy in my bag to fight those headwinds. So don't be surprised if you see the Defy pop up in my disc RPM profile, or get a shout out maybe in one of my hopefully positive tournament posts if I play a windy course, because I could definitely see myself leaning on it. So yeah, these were great. Thank you to MVP for sending me these testers. I really enjoyed them. I want to recommend you guys, especially if you're a forehand player, grab one of them. If you haven't already, check out your favorite retailer. I believe these drop tomorrow, so you can either put a pre-order in now or wait till tomorrow to see what you can get. As always, I will recommend Foundation discs. These will be going up Friday at 5 p.m. And I recommend Foundation discs because every disc you buy from Foundation comes with Foundation cares, meaning you buy the disc and within 30 days, if you don't like it, just go on their website, fill out their form, they'll send you a shipping label, and you can return the Defy and pick out something else brand new for free. So it's a risk-free trial. If you want to try the Defy, grab it, see if you like it. And if you don't, just grab one of your old reliables, and you're no worse for wear. So really great service they offer, and it's why I'm happy to be sponsored by them. So with that, guys, thank you for all your support. If you have any questions for me, reach out. I'll do my best to answer them. Take care. Thank you to my sponsors. For all your disc golf needs, check out Phoenix Discs and Foundation Disc Golf.